council in order. Before I ask Ms. Whitby to call the roll, I've been contacted by both Alderman Berry and Vestal indicating that they would not be here. One's out of town. I think Mr. Berry's out of town. Mr. Vestal indicated that he was ill, so we don't expect either one of those two council members. Mr. Height, you want to push that red button over there so we won't get any back feed. With that, Ms. Whitby, would you please call the roll?
Gibson.
Present.
Yielding.
Here.
Dobbins.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Height.
Here.
And Witcher.
Present.
The quorum is present.
Thank you, Ms. Whitby. Can I ask that we stand and let me begin this meeting by asking that we bow our heads for a moment of prayer. Dear Father, we thank you again for keeping watch over us as we deliberate the business of this community. The citizens of North Little Rock place a great deal of trust in this council, and we ask for your guidance in wielding that trust. Please give us the wisdom and the knowledge, and look over us as we make our decisions and hold our deliberations. Please bless this community, bless this state, bless this country. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Unless there was any additions, and I don't see any in front of me, there was only one communication.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that the petition with regard to speed control device at 605 Gordon.
Actually, there were two. There was a letter from you to Mr. Chris Benson of Arkansas Energy Office.
Okay. Well, let's just do that second. On the motion to accept and file the petition.
Okay. Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
All right. Now, would you show me where? Is that one? When did that come in?
We got this one on the 20th.
Okay. Does everyone remember the council have this? This has to do with the Clean Cities Coalition. I guess we're going to have a
Move accept and file.
motion made and seconded on the motion.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes, I don't know what it is.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Alderman Gibson moves. Alderman Witcher seconds the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Any discussion on the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
We've got several things before we get into old business, and I'd like to offer the floor to Alderman Yielding, who has a presentation.
Can I have the North Little Rock firemen to come up? We have John Miller with the North Little Rock Fire Department, and I was also a member of this team. We had guys like John Miller to help pull, and which actually we were the winners of the first annual Arkansas Pumper Pull that was the benefit of Special Olympics, and these guys would help raise $500 for Special Olympics, and also Chief McCall was even donate some money to us to pay our entry fee, and it was a 10-man team, and we were the heavyweight division, and we also...
I can't understand why you were in that division.
Well, I can't either. But I had 9 North Little Rock firemen like these guys, and then myself, but we were in the heavyweight division. We did have the best time overall, I think. We pulled a 17-ton pumper truck full of water. Alderman Gibson had full water, and we pulled it over 25 feet, and we had the best time. We had like 9.6 seconds, I think, average, and we beat the other heavyweight team in our division, which they were really heavyweights, was Pulaski County Sheriff's Department. But luckily, I had guys that were heavyweights but looked like this, and not heavyweights the other way. So I think we did really good. But we did win. Everyone got a plaque, and this is the plaque that we wanted to go down to the fire department. And we'll just give this to Chief McCall here. And I also want to thank Chief McCall for donating some money to Special Olympics and helping us. Okay.
right.
You want to tell the names of the guys, or can you remember everybody?
Sure. With me right now is Charlie Platt. He's a firefighter, works down in number 6s. Rick Albers is a captain at Station 5. Mark Wittenberg is a lieutenant at Station 6 on the Levy area. We had Steve Fortson, who's a new guy with us. He works at Station 2 right now. I also had David Wilson. He's down at Central, works on a heavy rescue. Myself, John Miller. It's Bert Prickett, who works at 9s. Charlie Richardson, who he's a rover. He's been with us about 2 years. And Preston Tackett, who's a captain. He's working right now at 3s. And our most important person is Mr. Yielding, who not only came up with a lot of funding, he also made a key role in the pumper pull. Without him, we probably couldn't have done it.
Can you tell us exactly what key role that was?
He put a lot of weight into it. Thank you, Chief McCall, for your support. I would like to say this is an annual event. It just started this year. All the proceeds go to the Special Olympics. We plan on doing this again next year and defend our title. And we plan to go out to the businesses in North Little Rock and ask for some support. Special Olympics, a great program, and we're going to do it again next year.
Best of luck. Are you going to have Alderman Yielding next year, too?
Yes, sir. He's part of the team. Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations. We want to tell you how much we appreciate y'all's activity, and best of luck in the future, even with Alderman Yielding.
No, even with me. And I also like to say that, you know, training and physical fitness is something I know that Captain Malden's also been working on, and that's something we definitely want all of our firefighters to be in this kind of shape if we need help. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman, and I guess let's go. I think this is perhaps a good warm-up for an opportunity that we have, and this community doesn't have this very often, particularly in light of what went on in Salt Lake City and the competition where the United States won more medals in the Winter Olympics than they ever won before. We have our own Christy Smith. Christy, if you could come to the microphone. There is sometimes we don't get a chance to acknowledge, and if your parents want to come up here too, I think they're in the audience. They'd like to join us. Christy is a world champion in wakeboard competition, if that's not correct. And I'm going to read this proclamation, and then I'm going to ask Christy to tell us a little bit about it. But she went to South Africa and came in first as a world champion in wakeboard competition. So if I could, whereas in October of 2001, 93 athletes from 17 countries gathered in South City, South Africa to compete in the IWSF Wakeboard World Championship. And whereas Christy Smith of North Little Rock was a member of the United States wakeboard team, which competed in these championships. And whereas with outstanding performances, Christy and other members of the United States wakeboard team were awarded a silver medal, Christy was awarded a gold medal in the junior women's event. And whereas Christy was the world wakeboard champion in the junior women's division in 1997, and whereas Christy is the daughter of Lee and Martha Smith and has two sisters, Kimberly and Jessica, and whereas in addition to wakeboarding, Christy enjoys skiing, running, gymnastics, softball, and she's also a talented musician who plays the clarinet and violin. Good genes there. She's a talented young lady, and we're sure proud that she lives with us. Therefore, North Little Rock is proud of Christy and her achievements, and we look forward to the United States team bringing home the gold medal at the next IWSF Wakeboard World Championships, and therefore I, Patrick Hayes, to proclaim the 25th day of March 2002 is Christy Smith Day in recognition and appreciation for achievements in wakeboarding and her outstanding performance at the 2001 IWSF Wakeboard World Championships. Christy, congratulations. And why don't you come to the microphone and tell us a little bit about your trip to South Africa and a little bit about your sport, and let us know a little bit more about you.
Okay, wakeboarding is sort of like snowboarding and skateboarding on the water, but you're pulled behind a boat, and you go back behind the boat and you do flips off the wake. There's a lot of different flips that I went out there. I went to South Africa with with nine other members from the United States. We competed as individuals. Also, I competed in my age group, 18 and under. I did really good. I went out there, I stood my run. There's a lot of other girls out there that were really good, and I don't know, I just did my best like I normally do, and I just did good, and I helped bring the team to second place overall. So it was fun. It was a great experience. I probably will never be able to go back to South Africa. So it was
We sure appreciate it. Let's once again congratulate our Angela, do you have Angela Stroud, our Main Street Director, has a few minutes she'd like to spend with us.
Yes, thank you for giving me a few minutes. There was something that I think was passed out to everyone, the City Council, and it was from Main Street, Arkansas, and what they have put together for us. I haven't been in this position since the beginning of the Main Street program, so I asked them to put some information together, and I wanted to give you just an update on what's happened and what's been going on. The Main Street Argenta is a member of the Main Street Arkansas Network and affiliated with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. We're part of a network of over 1,600 Main Street towns, and we are the largest of 18 Main Street towns in Arkansas. And the purpose of the program is to revitalize, develop, and preserve downtown North Little Rock by utilizing historic preservation methods. To stay in compliance with the Main Street program, we have to have 4 committees along with the Board of Directors. I have enclosed a current listing of the Board of Directors, their duties, and also the value of the Main Street program. The committees are organization, design, promotion, and economic restructuring. This committee also has an advisory board. All of the committees, the Board of Directors, and the advisory board give us around 50 volunteers. The Main Street program is the economic development program for a specialized area of the community, which is our historic commercial district. On the value of the Main Street program, the bottom line that they've given us is a value since '94 of $254,000. That amount does not include 3 grants that we've already received for this year, which is $20,000 for the Leverett Jewelry Store building. They're going to start work in about 30 days on that building. $50,000 for the Mount Air Feed Corporation. They're going to paint, and that's going to be phase 1 of their cleanup job. And then the program, we received $5,000 to the program. So that brings this already amazing amount up to $347,000. Just a little bit of history on the program itself. The Main Street Design Committee spent many volunteer hours drawing out the plans for the streetscape, which was along Main Street. It's now continuing east and west here downtown. We also sponsored the freestanding wooden Christmas card display this past year. I hope everyone got downtown to see that, and we hope to make that an annual event. We developed a low-interest loan program, which has been very successful, so much so that the Downtown Partnership has adopted its use, and that's on the other side of the river. I've just finished up working with Webster University. They put together a survey for us that they put the survey together, and they actually got about 800 responses back on the survey, and I've asked them to come. They'll probably come in a couple of maybe a couple more city council meetings and do a presentation on that. The survey is basically what's going to bring more foot traffic downtown. So, and that survey was taken from people who live all over Pulaski County and the surrounding areas. During the past couple of years, we've had 12 new businesses relocate or start up in the downtown, and still here. That there would be more, but some of them didn't stay. We've had 32 storefronts either already renovated or are in the process of being renovated. And just in closing, I want to say that Main Street Argenta is a productive program and has made an impressive contribution towards our downtown. And a successful Main Street program requires continuous management, and with the support of the city, we plan to continue that. So, thank you.
Thank you. One of the things I think we all realize, although our elections aren't until November, does anybody have any questions of Angela? Some of us are in November, and some of us are even earlier. But I wanted to and certainly will afford anyone who is a candidate for office the opportunity to come and say hello. And I recognize in the audience Jay Martin, who's running for state representative. Jay, if you just want to come introduce yourself and let the council know who you are and the position you're running for, we'd be happy to meet you.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I appreciate the opportunity to take a few moments and meet the City Council tonight. And we have a great city. The city of North Little Rock is a great city, and I'm so proud to live here. And I hope to be elected to State Representative District 40. I visited with the mayor last week, and I hope to work closely with the City Council if elected and let all of you gentlemen know that I want to hear your ideas and hear your plans. And it's such an honor, too, because looking around this group, many of you are in my district. And it would be an honor. It's the heart of the city, really, District 40. And it would be my honor to represent everyone in North Little Rock and also to represent you all. So thank you for this opportunity, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to present myself to you. Thank you very much.
One quick second. If you want to just tell us the district number and also the general boundaries so that those who are in the audience as well as home might know which district you represent.
It's the new District 40. It's the old District 61, which Mary Ann Salmon served in. She's vacated her seat to run for the state senate. And it's the western boundary is the interstate. It goes up to Sherwood, on around to Sherwood, up through JFK, up to the Camp Robinson area, and down by Levy. And those are kind of the boundaries. So. I'm also here campaigning tonight, so I would like to have everyone's vote as well.
Well, we're glad you're here, and we wish you well. We certainly
Thank you very
appreciate
much,
those
Mayor.
who seek office as we have up here, and look forward to working with you if you're successful.
Thank you, sir.
Now, David Mintz, is David here regarding the Pulaski County Facilities Board? We've got a little. All right, you're not David, I know.
No, and David couldn't be here, so.
Okay. All right.
I was going to say I had met David Menz, and I was sure I wasn't him, but.
Yep. I would agree with that.
I just wanted to tell you about a new and exciting program in the Pulaski County area that Argenta CDC is taking a lead role in. It has a very long name, Pulaski County Lease to Purchase Program. We're really excited about it. It's the first opportunity that we have seen for people who may have blemished credit a little bit. It can't be too bad. Or they're lacking down payment funds. And this program will give them an opportunity to get into a home and be able to stay there. Argenta CDC provides expert-friendly, confidential services to all our customers. And in this case, in this homeownership program, we're going to be working with people from Sweet Home to Morgan to Gravel Ridge to Scott and all the cities and communities in between. We guarantee top-notch service to every interested person who calls or comes to our offices. We have a team of professionals with 48 years of experience in nonprofit services. And the last time I said this, someone's asked, were they all mine? And no, that's not necessarily true at all. All our orientations, our homeownership classes, and individual counseling will be conducted in both English and Spanish. Since the program was announced last Thursday afternoon, we've had 182 calls from people who are now scheduled to come in for orientation. So you can see city and county-wide what this is going to do for homeownership, for people who will then own their home and pay their taxes and live in the city. In some of the media announcements, there's been a really serious misperception about the program. Several of the headlines have said new program for low-income people. Well, yes, it is designed for low income. It's also designed for moderate income, and it is designed for middle-income families. Someone can make up to $70,000, and I thought for just a moment that maybe this was the mayor's opportunity to move downtown. But then I realized that his wife also worked, which might put them a little over income. We would ask that each of you on the council, as well as the mayor, would act as ambassadors in your respective wards. I've given you a packet of information. There are also some cards to pass out. Anyone you know who is renting that would seriously like to own a home may enroll in this program. And I've asked Marty North, who's our homeownership manager, to give just a brief description of the nuts and bolts of the program. So if there's anyone in the audience or anyone watching who wants to participate, Marty will give you just a little bit more information.
Make sure you give us a phone number, too.
Marty will do that.
Thank you. I'll begin by saying the phone number is 372-6936, and I'll state it again a little further in this information. To begin, the bond issue is $43 million. So this is a considerably large bond issue for this lease purchase program. $38 million of it will be to purchase homes on behalf of these clients. It's estimated to serve approximately 500 families in the county. The individuals, once deemed eligible for the program, can purchase anywhere in the county. So there's a great opportunity for housing stock here in North Little Rock to be purchased by these participants. As Rosemary had mentioned, the income limit is $69,508 to be exact for a family of 4, which equates to 140% of AMI and not the typical 80% or below that we're typically used to hearing in for homeowner programs. There's also not a first-time homeowner provision. You do not have to be a first-time homeowner to take advantage of this program. You just cannot currently own property and take advantage of this program. Individuals can lease the program for lease their home for as little as 13 months with a maximum of 39 months. They must, during that process, work to resolve those credit issues that have been a stumbling block in their being able to acquire mortgage financing. But upon successful completion of that, the home will be, in essence, theirs, where they're contributing, like she has said, stabilizing neighborhoods and increasing to the tax base. So if anyone is interested in getting even further information about the program, please give us a call, 372-6936.
Thank you very much. And if anybody forgets, just call the mayor's office and or Argenta CDC. One of those two names, I'm sure, will help get you to the right person, and we look forward for people taking advantage of this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Gary Clements. Let me indicate, when I asked Gary to come here, we, as you know, for the last several years, have been working on bringing City Hall back. The windows, as you can see, was our latest project. The first project had to do with cleaning the outside of City Hall. We have money now set aside for the council as we're trying to review and see what to do on this end. And we had some funds left over to try to bring the west end of City Hall back, principally where the administrative offices, my offices are. And I've been working with Mr. Clements along with his staff to try to come up with an approach that continues with what we've been trying to do, and that's bring City Hall back as close as we could to when it was constructed. We're proposing that certain things be done. The floor removed, the carpet removed. There's hardwood floors. I'm going to let Mr. Clements go into greater detail to bring those floors back, to restore them like they were. The marble that you see in the hallway actually goes into my office and tees off, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, to where there were originally two offices to elevate the roof, or not the roof, the ceiling in the mayor's office. To again take up the carpet in some other places where those of you knew Charlotte and Becky and Sharon, and to take that out and to redo those floors. And before we went forward with it, I wanted for Mr. Clements to come here and basically give you a description and then indicate to the council generally what we feel the cost is going to be and what our approach is, and whether the council might have any questions. With that introduction, Mr. Clements.
Good evening. I'm Gary Clements of Clements & Associates. Mayor Hayes, you did a wonderful job describing what we're doing. The City Hall, of course, was built in 1914. It was among the first properties in the city to be put on the National Register, and the city's been devoted to this building through its constant maintenance. One of the goals by the window replacement, et cetera, was to undo some of the upgrades of the 70s, the late 60s and the 70s. This room's an example with its panelings, et cetera. With the city services building being acquired, an area which is a conference room now, it's planned to remain a conference room, became available to be used more intensely for conferences. That particular room has skylights above along the roof that leak and have done a lot of water damage, and so a portion of this is to seal the outside of the building and restore those finishes.
Now, the skylight will be visible from that room?
It will. It'll be a second. There's actually two skylights. There's an inside skylight and outside skylight. Both of them will be refurbished. The conference room will become, in its original appearance, it'll have original doors and original bases, and all those bases are still there behind the paneling that's there now. The work continues over into the mayor's office. If you recall, if you paid attention when the windows were taken out, what we found was the paneling and all those things inside his office are a lot lower than the tops of the windows. And we masked that when we put awnings on top of it. But if you slip up underneath those awnings, you'll see the backside of all those things that have been put in place. And of course, along the way, we'll be removing the asbestos in the way. In the end, we will refinish all the floors in the area, and we'll be putting it close to its original appearance.
One of the things, and I'm trying to do this from memory, but it seems like that we had carried over from last year somewhere around $80,000 to $90,000, and I think our guesstimate on this entire project is somewhere around $110,000 to $120,000.
About 90.
About 90,000. So there's probably going to be a request once we actually get the bids in to add some small amount to that in order to finish this. And I wanted to make sure that the council was aware of it as well as the community, so that as we began this process, we'd all recognize this is getting close to where hopefully we'll be at the end of that. Once we've, and if my recollection is correct, we set aside $100,000 to do improvements over here on this side of City Hall. So with that, I open the floor for any questions.
Is that the 1 cent tax paying for that?
I think some of it is. I'm not sure what the carryover was. It may very well be. I don't recall when it was in some of the funds that we had last year, so it may very well be. I'm just not sure where that carryover came from. Renewing?
I'd just like to say I'm glad something's finally being done, because I think it's tacky, just like we're sitting right here. And also, this is not just aesthetics. Oh, you like it? Well, I'm not going to make any comments about you saying that. It's not just aesthetics and know how it looks. I mean, there are some things that have happened to the building that need to be fixed, like when they got into this and they knew about the leaking through the roof and things such as that. And, there's certainly no reason to go put new carpet down. If anybody's put carpet down, you'll see how much that is. You might as well go back to the original floors, especially where they're marble and where they're wood, and have them reserved and have them redone, and be a lot less maintenance doing it that way than if we just said, well, we'll just go put, $20,000 worth of new carpet down. I'm really glad to see it. I think it'd be a lot more functional, and I think it'd be a lot more easier to maintain this building without having all these. You should look behind there and see what it looks like. It just lets things happen, and then you don't know if you're having problems. So I think it's really a good thing, and the money is in the capital improvement fund, and I had the page a while ago, but Mr. Thomas, I'll show it to you, but it was in the capital improvement fund that was left. So it was money that was left over from last year. And then we've got $100,000 set for this council chamber, and we need to start working on that and get some things and some PowerPoints and things put in that we've talked about, so it will make the people at home and the people in the audience better able to see what we do and get us more technologically advanced and help us there. But that's another project. I think this is a really good project. That's it.
All right, there wasn't anything other than, at this point, I don't need anything from the council, except I just wanted to make sure that when, this is going to be about 6 weeks, as I understand it, so there's going to be a little bit of disruption going on as we find a place to light, and we're asking everybody's cooperation and working with us as we work through this. But I think we'll all be very proud of City Hall. We can move, as Alderman Yielding said, into trying to decide what we want to do for this council chambers to make it more we'll say constituent friendly, and again try to utilize as much as we can to bring this area back to as much as it was in its original form. Although we didn't do it this time, I don't know at what point we may want to, but obviously there are windows over here on the left wall that goes into the alley that we maintained closed. Obviously, you see what's in front of you. All of those are open. If we don't have any questions from Mr. Clements, I want to again thank the council. We're more and more becoming prouder and prouder of this building and its history. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we've got Mr. Tommy Foltz. Mr. Foltz is going to talk to us about the Clean Cities program, and I think we've got a PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize to all the people who spoke before me that this was up while you were speaking, but if you had seen us trying to set this up before the meeting, you'd know that we didn't know if we could get it to come back on if we had turned it off, so I apologize. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Clean Cities program. Anytime any of us in the alternative fuels industry gets a public forum to debate the issues or talk about the issues of clean air, energy security, or alternative fuels, we take advantage of it. The first question on your mind, or that will be on your mind if you don't already know about it, is why are we here talking about this issue, and why are we asking North Little Rock to commit $1,000 towards the Clean Cities program? The simple answer to that, hopefully, is that we want to do our part to be good Americans and address two very well-established national policy objectives, which are clean air and energy security. In the simplest terms, Clean Cities tries to accomplish this through replacing petroleum-fueled vehicles with alternative fuel vehicles, primarily in fleet applications. So what I'm talking about when I talk about alternative fuels, I'm talking about natural gas vehicles, propane-powered vehicles, ethanol vehicles, electric-powered vehicles, and the future hydrogen-powered vehicles, all fuels that can be produced right here, not only in America but in Arkansas. In order to understand, though, the Energy Policy Act, it's helpful to look or to consider the timing of the birth of the law. It's the Energy Policy Act of 1992. All of us remember Desert Storm, which occurred in 1991, so it's no surprise that Congress did something about trying to reduce our dependence on foreign oil in 1992. So it was passed by Congress to reduce the nation's dependence on imported petroleum, and EPAC was a far-reaching law, but as far as transportation is concerned, they tried to essentially get fleets to use alternative fuel vehicles instead of petroleum vehicles. Clean Cities was created as part of the voluntary commitments, part of EPAC, which it obviously still is part of the voluntary commitment. So what we're doing with Clean Cities is voluntary. It's not a command and control kind of a mandate approach to developing a market. It's more of a playing a facilitator's role. Just from a housekeeping standpoint, though, most alternative fuels are also cleaner than petroleum fuels, but the Clean Cities program, despite its name, is run by the U.S. Department of Energy. And one of the reasons that I'm very much involved in the program is that I used to run this program at the national level from 1994 to 1997 in Washington. I just have moved home within the last year and wanted to see Clean Cities kind of try to take off again in central Arkansas. So the central challenge of the alternative fuels industry that Clean Cities tries to address is what we call the chicken and egg syndrome, which basically is that not enough people are driving the alternative fuel vehicles on one hand. So on the other hand, fuel providers are not interested in investing in alternative fuel vehicle refueling. and vice versa. You don't want to buy an alternative fuel vehicle because you don't know where you're going to fill up. You don't want to put in a filling station because you don't know who's going to use the station. So Clean Cities tries to do that by bringing together the fleet operator, the fuel provider, and the vehicle manufacturer, and reaches beyond fleets that are mandated by EPAC to try to build a sustainable market for alternative fuels. So essentially, Clean Cities tries to play a facilitator's role. So the national goals and accomplishments of Clean Cities, the goals are 1 million alternative fuel vehicles nationwide by 2010, 1 billion gallons of alternative fuel, and then 75% of Clean Cities coalitions self-sustaining by 2005, which of course is what Central Arkansas would like to be as well. We're going to talk a little bit later about the reason that we've asked for the $1,000 commitment is because we've applied for a grant at the U.S. Department of Energy, and that would go as matching funds. On the accomplishments, though, just real quickly, there's 77 active coalitions in the country, 4,700 stakeholders, 132,000 alternative fuel vehicles, 5,300 refueling stations, 102 million gallons of petroleum displaced per year, and 19,000 metric tons of emissions reduced per year. Those sound like big numbers, but they're not real big numbers in the grand scheme of things. As far as Central Arkansas Clean Cities history is concerned, we were recognized in 1995 as part of the Clean Cities program, and very little has occurred since that time for a number of reasons. There was essentially no coordinator to kind of continue to stir the pot and create initiatives. There was essentially no activity. There was a lot of activity that surrounded trying to get designated as a clean city, but once that occurred, things kind of dropped off, which is exactly what we were trying to avoid when I was at the Department of Energy to try to make active Clean Cities coalitions. So that takes care of the Energy Policy Act side of what we're trying to do here. Now we've got alternative fuels that also address the Clean Air Act. So what is the Clean Air Act? It requires metropolitan areas to achieve attainment of national ambient air quality standards by a certain time based on non-attainment status. The non-attainment areas have to devise what is called a State Implementation Plan, or SIP, to achieve attainment. Any SIPs that are deemed unacceptable yield various penalties, the worst of which has never happened, but the worst of which is taking away federal highway funds. There can be limits on the kind of industry that you bring into your city and can generally retard economic development through environmental regulation. And then again, on the housekeeping side of things, Clean Air Act is implemented by EPA. As far as the Clean Air Act in Central Arkansas is concerned, we're lucky in Central Arkansas because we are in attainment of national ambient air quality standards, but we're on the borderline. So we are eligible to participate in a program called the Ozone Flex program, for areas that are marginal non-attainment or are on the borderline.
This council adopted a resolution indicating we intend to participate in the Ozone Flex program.
That's great. And as you know, the Ozone Flex is essentially a mini SIP to try to show EPA that we're doing something proactive and positive in Central Arkansas to try to clean the air. Now, these numbers, since we're on TV and since this is a public meeting, I want to stress that these numbers are estimates. This is not the emissions inventory that will take place over the next 12 months to determine exactly where the air pollution is coming from. But it is helpful to look at this as an estimate. And as you can see, the on-road mobile sources, which are essentially licensed automobiles that drive on the road, are responsible for 54%. It's estimated 54% of the NOx, the nitrogens of oxides problem in Central Arkansas. So you can begin to see, since Clean Cities is about putting cleaner fuel vehicles on the road, obviously Ozone Flex and Clean Cities begin to come together in a manner that makes sense. So we've got to include on-road mobile sources in Ozone Flex. You're going a little fast for me, John. So Clean Cities addresses this concern, and as we've discussed, will be an integral part of Ozone Flex. Again, it allows us. Go ahead. It allows us to demonstrate that we're being proactive, and if we fail to meet the standards, and this is really the most important part of Ozone Flex, if we fail to meet the standards, our participation in the program will essentially allow us a little bit more time to get where we need to be. So the way to look at Clean Cities, in our opinion, is that Clean Cities is preventive medicine. It's not the solution to Central Arkansas's air quality concerns, but it is a solution. It's an arrow in the quiver to protect air quality, to act now and avoid regulations later. As far as what we'll do with the $1,000 and other funds that have come in from several other organizations and cities and municipalities or counties, the primary activity, as I said earlier, is to bring together fleets, fuel providers, and vehicle manufacturers to try to come up with a program that allows us to get past this chicken and egg syndrome. And again, it's also a clearinghouse to identify and implement those strategies. How? We're going to identify key niche markets, conduct public outreach, hold Advancing the Choice events, which an Advancing the Choice event basically is where we bring in all of the manufacturers, whether light duty, medium duty, or heavy duty vehicles, to come in and make a sales pitch to area fleets so that they can determine what is available in the marketplace today. And there is quite a bit available in the marketplace, which is a big departure from where we were in 1995 when the program initially began in Central Arkansas. And we'll look at legislative strategies and look how we can cooperate with other air quality initiatives. And again, then we're going for a grant proposal from the Department of Energy, but there are other larger grant opportunities that are out there. I'm going fast. You pick up the gavel.
No, I just take your time. We're listening.
I'm kidding. So quickly, I just showed you some numbers earlier. The 132,000 alternative fuel vehicles was related to what Clean Cities can kind of take credit for. But today there are 100,000 natural gas vehicles in the United States. 25% of all new transit bus orders, that's an American Public Transit Association figure, run on either compressed natural gas or liquefied natural gas. There are 300,000 propane vehicles in the United States, primarily in urban areas, but just because they do have a good refueling infrastructure. There are thousands of ethanol-capable vehicles in the United States. Obviously, we can make ethanol in Arkansas. Ford, Chrysler, and GM all have a product that runs on ethanol, but it also runs on 100% unleaded gasoline. So without the infrastructure, you've got what's known as an alternative, or technically is an alternative fuel vehicle, but it's not using the alternative fuel, and it's not displacing petroleum. There's light-duty product, Ford, Honda, GM, Chrysler, and heavy-duty product, Caterpillar, John Deere, Mack, Cummins, and despite the name, Detroit Diesel. So how do we get the ball rolling? Basically, we need to hire a Clean Cities coordinator. I'm acting as the executive director of the Central Arkansas Clean Cities program until that time, whether that eventually becomes me or someone else. But we need to have someone in the mix to keep the ball rolling and to basically stir the pot. So we have, as of I guess last Friday, we submitted a grant, $15,000 grant to the U.S. Department of Energy to pay for a part-time employee or part-time coordinator. That required a minimum of a 50% local match. At least 25% of that needed to be in cash. We got all 50% in cash. So we were able to raise a substantial amount of money just by asking and getting a voluntary commitment. Again, 19 public, private, nonprofit organizations, and these are the organizations that have contributed. Click it again. Essentially, we came up with in-kind, with the $2,500 in-kind from MetroPlan, we came up with $19,500 plus $1,000 from North Little Rock would be $20,500. So, like I said, we're not very technically astute here. we'll let the technical people handle that. But there's a great range of organizations here, whether they're cities, counties, Arkansas Environmental Federations, Whitey's Truck, the city of Benton, and essentially we looked for the highest dollar amount from the largest cities, which is one of the reasons that North Little Rock, we had hoped that North Little Rock would give us $1,000, and someone like Cabot would give us $500. So, any questions?
We appreciate it and look forward to working with you or your successor as we work through trying to chart a course that we will not fall on the wrong side of the attainment dividing line, non-attainment dividing line. So if anybody has any questions.
I just have one question. What's the biggest myth that the public has about alternative fuel vehicles and the reason they don't want to use them?
Well, I mean, I think that there are lots of myths, especially on the other side of the aisle, but I've come from this industry. There are a lot of myths about what some of the petroleum product out there is going to be able to achieve from an environmental standpoint that is just not proven yet. But as far as alternative fuels are concerned, I think a truth about it is that there's not enough infrastructure out there. I mean, there are 3 natural gas vehicle fueling sites in Arkansas, 2 of them in Little Rock and one I'm not sure that it's even down there anymore. So you've got 2 in central Arkansas. There are, I believe, no ethanol refueling sites in Arkansas, period. There's a lot of propane fueling sites out there. But I think the biggest myth that the public has misunderstood or thinks about is that this is some kind of technology that's still 10 or 15 years away, and that it's not available yet, and that it's not proven. It's well proven. There's no question about it. 1993, 1994, we had lots of mom and pop shops out there slapping a natural gas conversion kit on a vehicle that's supposed to run on gasoline. You lose 15-20% power. People are just unhappy with the performance of that vehicle. That's just not the case anymore. You've got John Deere that has built the only engines they have are on-highway engines. They've built it from the ground up to run on natural gas. Honda Civic GX, ground up natural gas. Crown Vic by Ford. If any of these vehicles, I'd ask any of you to drive in one of these dedicated natural gas or propane vehicles and tell the difference between a gasoline-powered vehicle or a diesel-powered vehicle and a natural gas-powered vehicle.
So let me ask a couple quick questions. Let's just say you've got a $20,000 Crown Victoria that goes 20 miles an hour on or 20 miles on a gallon of gas, and that gallon of gas costs $1.25. Can you give me some comparisons for the cost of the vehicle, the cost of the fuel, and the distance traveled?
Yes, I can. The incremental cost is how we refer to it in the industry, is what the baseline gasoline vehicle costs versus a natural gas option. For a Crown Vic, I believe it's about $5,500. So if it's $20,000 base vehicle cost, you're going to pay $25,000, maybe $25,500. That is a huge hurdle that anyone is going to have to get over. At $1.25 a gallon for gasoline, though, you're paying more for your fuel for gasoline than you would be for natural gas. The company that I work for in Denver had a posted price of a gasoline gallon equivalent of compressed natural gas at 90 cents a gallon for about 5 years when gasoline was anywhere from 80 cents to $1.40 or $1.45. Essentially what we have to target, the strategies that Central Arkansas Clean Cities is going to go after, is your high mileage, high fuel use fleets, because that's what's economic. Those are the high polluters. That's who you have to get into the cleaner vehicles. I'm talking about refuse haulers, transit buses. Super Shuttle is a great example. Travel to any one of the major metropolitan areas in the country, whether that's Los Angeles, Dallas, San Francisco, and get in a Super Shuttle. Chances are you may be getting into a natural gas Super Shuttle, and the reason is because they run about 80 to 100,000 miles a year, So they're making money hand over fist just in fuel cost savings alone. Super shuttles of the world are few and far between.
What is a super shuttle?
That's a van, that's a taxi cab.
It's
And the other question is the mileage the same approximately?
the mileage is the mileage per gallon is the exact same. The way that the benchmark obviously is 114,000 BTUs is a gallon of gasoline, so we measure out a gallon of compressed natural gas in that way too. The problem is the amount of energy that you can store on board the vehicle. It's compressed natural gas, so you essentially have the gas is in what look like scuba tanks. So if you get, I've got a Ford Explorer, I think I've got 20-gallon gasoline tank. That vehicle could probably hold 12 to 14 gallons of compressed natural gas and might take up a little bit of the room in the cargo area. But a Ford F-150 and a Econoline van, which are the super shuttle vans, the more real estate you have on a vehicle, the more space you have to store the fuel. So you've got a situation where, and they're back to your issue about what are the myths. The myths are they don't go far enough. Who needs more than 200 or 250 miles before a fill-up? And that's what a Honda Civic GX will get you, which is one of the smallest vehicles on the road. So you still have the range, unlike you used to have, but it's not quite as much as a gasoline or diesel-powered vehicle.
I have one question. Is it conceivable then that a city the size of North Little Rock could convert all of its fleet over to alternative fuels in the future, or at least purchase new equipment that has an alternative fuel power source?
It is, and that's why not only do we target the high mileage, high fuel use, but we also go after the centrally fueled fleets. Those vehicles that come back at night to a central location and you provide a fueling station there that may or may not be open to the public, that fleet can refuel.
Is this going to be something though, like nobody's using natural gas now, and then when everybody starts using it, the price is going to go up to where it's prohibited to use it? I know a lot of people would get very rich if we captured 1% of the transportation market. It would have almost no impact on natural gas prices. Are there any cities that are using their police departments are using their fleets are using alternative fuels?
There are some, but they're mainly the cruisers. I mean, they're high pursuit vehicles. But if you look as close as the city of Dallas, the Fort Worth T runs, I think they've got about 220 compressed natural gas buses, transit buses that they use. Dallas Area Rapid Transit has 139 liquefied natural gas buses that they use, and then a whole fleet of light-duty compressed natural gas vehicles. And the reason that they can do that is because they've got fueling right there at their facility, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's just them showing some leadership.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
John, thank you. John Hoffbauer of Metroplan. John, thanks for pushing the button. Unless anybody has anything else, I think with that introduction to our agenda, let's go to it. Old business, Ms. Whitby.
Resolution 0235, Alderman Gibson and Yielding. Resolution 0238 was tabled at the last meeting, Alderman Dobbins.
I want to call that back up. Takes you 6 votes to bring it off the table.
May I make a comment? Well, Colin, I'd like to make a comment.
All right, read it.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an engineering contract with Thomas Engineering Company Incorporated to provide engineering services for the design and construction phases for 11th Street reconstruction, Dixie Addition 28th year 2002 CDBG program in the total amount of $26,739.35.
We have to have it. I move to remove it from the table.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded on the motion.
No, I have a comment.
No, go ahead and make a comment.
I want to congratulate Alderman Thomas and Alderman Dobbins for getting together and working out the things, and I believe we got an amicable situation that everybody's happy with, and I would like to have this brought back to the table for an amendment.
I would second that.
All right, on the motion to remove from the table.
Gibson.
Vote yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
6 votes. Motion is successful. It's all on the floor for consideration. What's your
Okay, I
pleasure?
guess we need an adoption, motion
Need a
to
motion.
adopt
amend it
first.
first.
We got to
Yeah,
adopt it.
we got to move for adoption.
Move for adoption first.
Okay, move for adoption.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Now the floor is open for amendment.
I want to make an amendment. I believe Alderman Gibson has some of the details on that.
Well,
Mr. Thomas, and
Mr. Thomas.
basically is to, and I have to ask Ms. Bowman one question. In your CDB projects, do you allow them to separate the design to construction phase, or you want the entire amount stuck into the resolution?
You can separate.
we want just design.
Okay. So, Ms. Whitby, I'm going to hand you this.
Yeah, that's what I want. I think we're in agreement, but read it off.
Yeah.
Okay. The section 1 would say that the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized and directed with Thomas Engineering for the Melrose Circle / East Half Street Improvements 28th year CDBG in the amount of $12,600.15 for the design phase. And that is the amendment.
And I'll second that, and let's put that in the heading as well.
That's right. I'll clean this up.
Yeah.
I want to add,
And without objection, Alderman Thomas will be considered a co-sponsor on that. Ms. Whitby, have you got that amendment?
I've got it here for you, Ms. Whitby.
All right. You want to repeat it one more time?
I'm going to hand it to her.
Put Melrose Circle instead of 11th Street. Right.
Actually, what we did, we just amended in the old 37 in place of 38.
Okay,
All right. Motion made and seconded. You want to read the amendment?
the amendment is that section 1 will read that the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to enter into an engineering contract, design, and construction phases with Thomas Engineering Company Incorporated for Melrose Circle, East Half, Street and Drainage Improvements, 20th year 2002 CDBG program in the amount of $12,600 for the design phase. And there's your amendment.
On the motion.
I hope this, that you've got and add the other person as a sponsor.
Yeah, and
Add
all-
Alderman.
And that entire piece of paper will be the new R02038.
Okay. And then add that into the heading.
right.
All right, in the heading, and then I add Alderman Thomas as a co-sponsor. And with those amendments on the motion to amend.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes. Move for adoption is amended.
Second?
On the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Okay. We're up to ordinances from old business.
Read the first one.
Okay. Ordinance 0216.
This is an ordinance setting forth the responsibility of utilities used in public rights-of-way for street or curb cuts, repealing Section 92-21 through Section 94-54 of the North Rock Municipal Code. Second reading.
We want to talk to some, we're working with some of the utilities, and we want to coordinate a little bit better with them. I know Mike Smith, who's out in the audience, and in order to probably better do that, rather than try to amend this as we go down the road, I'm just going to withdraw it and then bring it back fresh. With that, please withdraw it.
Okay. Next item, ordinance 0219, Mayor Hayes.
Please hold that.
Next item, ordinance 0223, Alderman Gibson.
Draw it, please.
Next item, ordinance 0225, Alderman Yielding.
Hold it to the planning commission.
You're holding that one?
To the planning commission.
Still at the planning
You're going to come back with a recommendation from the planning commission.
Next item, ordinance 0226, Alderman Thomas and Barry.
I want to hold that as well.
We're up to new business. First item, resolution 0241, Alderman Thomas.
I'd like to have it read, please, and that Alderman Dobbins on there as a co-sponsor.
Without objection, add Alderman Dobbins as a co-sponsor, and would you please read it?
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an engineering contract with Thomas Engineering Company Incorporated to provide engineering services for the design phase of 11th Street Dixie Addition using Ward 2 drainage funds in the amount of $15,592.51.
Move for adoption.
Yeah, I thought we had already. Move for adoption, second.
Yeah, Alderman Thomas seconds. Alderman Dobbins moves for adoption. On the motion.
Gibson?
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I believe that you wanted Mr. Dobbins added as
I did say that. Yeah, Alderman
sir.
Dobbins and Alderman
Thomas.
Thomas as co-sponsor.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item, Resolution 0242, Alderman Thomas.
I'd like to have it called as well, and put Alderman Dobbins as a sponsor as well.
Without objection, Ms. Whitby, would you please read that and add Alderman Dobbins as a co-sponsor?
Yes, sir. A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an engineering contract with Marlar Engineering Company Incorporated to provide engineering services for the design phase of Poe Street drainage and street improvements in the amount of $10,291.94.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item, Resolution 0243, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution approving change order number 1 in the amount of $224,000 on the year 2000 sidewalk program phase 2 at the current contract rates or prices.
Move for adoption.
Second.
And then tell us about this a little.
All right, well, this is part of our sidewalk program. Mr. Smith, you want to come to the microphone, I'll explain in case anybody has any questions. We were able to, at the current prices that we had of last year's contractor, able to extend that contract at the same rates and continue the contractor in doing work. We were very pleased with the contractor, and so this is essentially this year's program. There was, as we went forward with last year's program, there were some overages that we are paying for by this year, and then this goes down the road and by and large finishes. I think we've got about $70,000-$80,000 left in our sidewalk budget after this appropriation.
Oh, about 125,000, I think. But we're going to spend some of that.
So we
on
still
street.
got some more sidewalks that we're going to do, or at least some funds that we can do things with on our sidewalks, and this is the 1 cent money. Alderman Thomas?
And this is where we could put some of the funds to do Melrose Circle sidewalks. Is that what we're saying?
Could be.
And also, while I'm at this point, we got Cedar Street that people are asking us, and I don't think that's in our program, but they're asking that we do sidewalk on Cedar Street as well.
Could you take a look at Cedar Street? And Alderman Dobbins and Thomas, I need to visit with y'all. I asked Mr. Smith to go down there and take a look at, along with Mr. Ward, and take a look at work that they were recommending that needed to be done on Melrose, and rather than tearing up the road and the sidewalks that don't need to be, that are in fairly good shape, what we're going to recommend is that those sidewalks be repaired where they need to be repaired, and the road repaired where it needs to be, rather than completely tear up the road. And there can be a substantial savings by going about it in that direction. And I'll get more details with y'all and Mr. Smith. Isn't that your recommendation, Mr.
We
Smith?
had it in there to make repairs where needed, but we also did have in there to resurface the entire street.
Right.
And I think one of the things that has to be done first is the drainage.
Well, the contract that Thomas had, I believe it was Thomas, had minimal amount of drainage work, and we were just going to duplicate whatever they were going to do.
Okay, I think we're about to get that worked out. And I wanted the mayor to help us as much as he could, because we got about $800,000 worth of work and $110,000 to do it with.
Well, we're going. In the approach that we're recommending that you take for Melrose will save us a substantial amount of money, and will take care of what we feel are rather than have new, you'll have a B+ product that will be as functional as it's ever been.
Well, the main thing is once we get started on those 3 projects that we're out there, we can continue on and continue to spread it around, and also make sure that we continue to work with our public works to get those drainage things cleaned out timely. That way it can alleviate some of that water.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go to work on Melrose, and we look forward to doing it in a very functional and prudent way.
Okay.
With that, on the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher? Next item, Resolution 0244, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute all necessary documents to enter into an agreement to purchase a step-up transformer protective relay for Murray Hydro from PSC 2000, authorizing the expenditure of $60,000 for the purchase of such equipment.
And Mayor,
Yes.
If I may, I have substituted and passed around to all the council members, including yourself, a substitute resolution with slightly different language, and I can tell you what the substitution consists of if you'd like.
All right, well, let me get a motion to amend. First of all, I need a motion to adopt. Motion made and seconded to adopt 0244. Now I need a motion to amend that by what Ms. Hamilton has circulated.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion to amend. Ms. Whitby.
I don't have the motion. I don't have the resolution.
I'm sorry.
I guess, Mayor, if we could take a friendly one and fill in the blank, and that's the electric department O&M fund.
All right, yeah, let's do that too. I guess so we
Right,
get it all
I made a
at
phone
once.
call today trying to discover which fund and never got a call back, so that's a
Section
blank.
2, the blank would say electric department O&M.
And we'll do that under one rather than.
Can I ask a question when
Sure.
you get ready?
Sure. Any further discussion on the motion to amend? On the motion to amend, Ms. Whitby?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
All right, we're amended. Now, what's your question, Alderman?
What is this $60,000 down the tubes for?
Who's here? Actually, it's protecting us.
To
Mr.
spend
Ketcher,
more?
AC Ketcher, I tell you, it helped me out. I think this is something we've already done, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, well, that's nice. We need to pay for it.
They started on it today, Mayor.
Okay, now we ordered this.
Well, what does this part do?
This monitors the 6 miles of transmission line from the Murray Hydro Plant to Levy Substation 3.
Okay.
Anything falls on that on that line, or the line comes down or whatever, it disconnects everything at Murray and shuts both units down before it does damage to them.
Okay.
Now, the reason that, I was contacted about 10 days ago, 2 weeks, I can't remember. Maybe it was before last council meeting? Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. It was last week, right before filing deadline. The reason that we had to go ahead and order it, this particular breaker protects a million-plus transformer, so we didn't want to leave it vulnerable very long. We found one that we could get that was just built for somebody else, and if we didn't go ahead and order it, they were going to give us theirs. So if we hadn't have done that at that particular point in time, they would have to build us one, and it would have taken another 6 weeks. So we asked the mayor to give us an executive order to do that, and we wanted to follow up and let y'all know what we did and get your blessing on it.
Saved some money too, didn't it?
Probably. Did it save us some money?
Well, we called
Saving money in the hydro is not in the same.
There's so many things at
Senate.
the hydro plant that are single sources, and
You don't save anything, but I agree. I think that was a smart thing to do. I mean, considering we're strapped with it, we don't need to let it get any worse than it already is.
Well, the thing that we were concerned about, obviously, if I think you've got two circuit breakers, so to speak, if I can explain it that way, and one was down, and if another one went down, then we stood to fry our $1.5 million transformer.
And damage to each unit.
And damage to each unit. So, I went ahead and authorized it as an emergency purchase, and this is simply confirming that purchase.
Oh, that's fine. I think that was good.
Look at the good side of it. Another 14 years, it's all paid for.
Yeah. Then we'll have to put a new turbine in it, and it'll cost $23 million.
I don't know. I like the green power things that they're starting to talk about.
Well, the only thing about green power, unfortunately, the word hydro isn't injected in there. They got wind and solar and all that other stuff. On the motion?
It's been amended, but we need a motion to adopt as amended.
Alderman
Witcher, I believe, did that.
Alderman Witcher motion, and Alderman Height seconded it. On the motion to adopt.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Just the fourth side. We can't hear them tonight.
Yeah. We're being nice over there.
We don't know y'all are here.
Yeah.
Resolution 0245, Alderman Yielding.
I'm going to hold that, and the fire chief and the mayor are going to have discussions.
Okay, Resolution 0246, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution authorizing execution of a contract with Taggart Foster Currents Gray Architects Incorporated for professional architect services for renovations to existing police and courts building and appropriating $130,000 for such services.
Move for adoption.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. We got another candidate here too, I think.
Yeah.
Judge
He just
Sims,
came back.
Just came around the corner. Feel free to introduce yourself as judge and a candidate, since that's a courtesy we're affording.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
But with the motion to adopt, motion made and seconded to adopt, I want to ensure that we explain a little bit of what we're doing, and if you want to take the microphone and do that, it's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. As you guys know, I am Barry Sims. I'm your traffic judge, and I'm a candidate for circuit court. Now that that's out of the way, I'll tell you what we're trying to do. City Hall is palatial compared to what we're working with down at the Police and Courts building, so we're trying to figure out a way to use the economies that we have and increase our space and make a better building for the citizens of North Little Rock. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Let me just briefly explain a little bit of what's going on, so the council kind of be aware. At one point, we were looking very seriously at a significant renovation to the old Utilities Accounting Building and housing our courts in there. We've been working on this probably for about 3 years in trying to address some very acute space needs that the courts have. And the police and fire have come to me and asked if we might be able to utilize that Utilities Accounting Building, some for offices for police as well as for a training area to be shared by both police and fire. That there is a real acute need for that kind of a facility, and that for somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000, which is not minimal, but is in comparison to a lot of the other things that we're doing, would make a really first-class training facility down there. So one of the things that I've been having discussions with the courts as well as the police department was, it seemed to me that it would be much more, we'll say, prudent to try to enlarge the space that the courts use down at the Police and Courts building, particularly in light of the police department spreading out patrol into 4 different precincts, as well as some of the functions that are currently being used in the building would be less pressure would be on that as they move into the Utilities Accounting Building. And with that, we came up with a plan to, in fact, do that, and that is expand in place that this money that we're asking to be spent is in a separate fund that can only be spent for court improvements, and Judge, you can address that if you want to. Now, what we, and we hadn't quite gotten to the point of exactly recommending how we're going to pay for it once we get to the end and get to a bid, but our guesstimation is that it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.2 million, somewhere in that ballpark. Judge, you want to?
Yes, sir. Let me just add that now that the police department has moved to the community-oriented policing, the building has a lot of unused space back in the back areas where the public can't get to. What we're proposing is to shift some of the police department personnel back towards the back of the building and come in and remodel the front of the building, or remodel the whole building actually, but put public access areas at the front so that we can use them so that the public can get to the services they need. The building also needs a new roof at this time, so that's taken into account, and we would include a new courtroom in that area where the property room is now. There's room downstairs for all the police property room, and we would simply shift it downstairs to where their weight room is, and some other things are down there. Was there anything else I needed to cover, Mayor?
Any questions? Alderman Yielding, and then Alderman Witcher, and then Alderman Hyde.
What is the police chief? He's not here tonight. What is he?
It's fine with him.
He's in favor of this, or we wouldn't be.
He's been involved in the discussions from the beginning.
Okay. What about the new act? I mean, how is this going to affect the new circuit judges and the state and the salaries. And I mean, without going into a long thing, can you tell us what because we're going to spend the city's money to redo the court, and is there going to be state judges in this court, or?
Well, the city's always going to have a court system in order to enforce the laws that we have. You know, our policemen will always be writing tickets, and we'll always have to be adjudicating those. So something will happen with Amendment 80. It'll be implemented in January of 2005. So we've got 2 years under the current system that we have now. As far as the nitty-gritty, that's up to the Supreme Court and ultimately the legislature to determine how the funds will be distributed. I think that at the last Municipal League meeting, they were thinking that the best plan would be for the judges and the clerks to go to the state payroll and the city pay whatever that amount is into the state fund, and then the city keep everything else. The city would keep all the fine revenues and a portion of the court cost. As it is right now, we keep all of the fine revenues, we keep all the probation fees, and we keep approximately 34% of the court cost. In the year 2001, our profit to the general fund was about $1.8 million from the courts. So we don't really know how that will be affected, but we don't expect much change. The people who are in charge with the Supreme Court are working on a plan. The judges have been meeting, trying to get a plan together, and it's really an unknown at this time, but I don't know how much of a difference it will make.
Alderman Witcher.
First of all, congratulations on getting another courtroom, because I know you need it.
Thank you.
One of the concerns that I know y'all had regarding your staff and your office staffs, I'm assuming that you've made provisions for an adequate area for your staff.
Well, we will. That's very much in the planning stage now, but there would be adequate space in the ultimate plan.
Okay, and I guess the only comment, thank you, Judge Sims, for being here tonight. Mayor, I guess the only other comment that I would make is, I know there was a remodeled area in the jail area that the state spent a lot of money on, and that's a nice area, and if we could get our hands on that particular area, I think it would be helpful to us in some form or fashion. It's not accessible from the public part of the building.
We have thought about that, and you know, the county has a lease on it. They are currently paying the bond payments, and I'm not sure exactly how much longer that runs. Stephanie, do you know how much longer that? 8 years. So you know, I'm sure if we asked the judge if we could use it until he has a use, then fine. You know, we might want to consider doing that, but you know, obviously that's a benefit to us because the county is continuing to make the bond payments.
True.
Alderman Height?
Well, Alderman Yulin basically had the same question that I have, but I'm just kind of curious, Judge, as to what time frame this contract with what are we looking here as far as length of time? And the other comment I have is that the district judgeship that you're running for, their gain will be our loss.
Well, thank you, sir.
Let me partly answer that. I think we envision that you know, that this phase will take 3 to 4 months.
Yes, sir.
And then it was our intent to put it out for bid, and then we'd be able to come back and make a recommendation as to how we were going to pay for it, or you know, whether we felt we could figure out a way to pay for it. But this phase looks like about 3 to 4 months is what I'm guessing it'll take to get the bid documents. Maybe a little bit longer, but not much.
So we're looking mid to late summer then.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Gibson.
No questions.
Any other comments or questions? I think I have a motion, don't I?
Yes, sir.
On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item, Resolution 0247, Mayor
Please
Hayes.
call it.
A resolution naming an entryway to Emerald Park parking lot located off West Scenic Drive to Marge Gardner Lane.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item,
I
resolution.
think we all know, and just for those at home, Marge Garner passed away within the last couple of years, and Marge was a very colorful and appreciated and loved advocate for Emerald Park as well as Burns Park, and we know that she's looking down, and Marge, we're doing the best we can to take care of our park, and thank you for making it better. This will reflect that for those who come and want to see that little part of the roadway up there. Next item.
Resolution 0248, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution reappointing Charles L. Jones to the North Little Rock Parks and Recreation Commission.
Move for adoption.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding. Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Resolution 0249, Mayor Hayes, Alderman Thomas, and Dobbins.
Please call it.
A resolution establishing a Board of Assessment for Willow Beach Municipal Improvement District Number 1.
I move for the adoption.
Second.
On the motion.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
And we thank John Thurman, who is in the audience. I think you probably have maybe one of the members of your new commission out. Excuse me? And we appreciate both of you being here. John served for many years as the attorney for the North Little Rock Water Commission admirably, and we certainly appreciate his continued efforts on behalf of the community, and thanks for helping us move this project forward. I think those citizens out there will enjoy good quality Central Arkansas water, and we look forward to bringing it to you. Next item.
Next is ordinances. Ordinance 0227, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance adopting the North Little Rock Downtown Master Plan. First reading.
Move to suspend rules, place on second reading.
Second.
On the motion.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting the North Little Rock Downtown Master Plan. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place on the third and final reading.
Second.
On the motion.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting the North Little Rock Downtown Master Plan. Third and final reading.
On the question.
Gibson.
Wait.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Boyles, was there anything, that was the last booklet that we were given, is that what we're voting on tonight? Or is there any changes,
Myself, I think there were a few typo changes.
only typo changes?
I believe so.
No, you need to know so.
I wish they were here, but they did mark that there were some grammatical changes. So I
This has
assume
been
it's
represented to me
basically
that there were a few typographical, no substantive changes.
No substantial or material changes.
That's correct.
Mayor, is this the one dated January 2002? It says preliminary.
I have some copies of
All right.
current one. Hope they have enough.
I do too.
I have one.
I've got one of them.
He's got one right here.
Take this into the car.
We can share here. We just share here.
one of those.
Yeah, no, go ahead. We don't need
one of these.
Let them here.
Robert, all we gotta do is just look at the sheet
Okay.
and see if it's...
Same one.
On the second page, it has a revised 322. Didn't make those changes, so I really can't speak. I think I can find out what they are. Yes, sir.
And Mr. Boyles, if I remember in our discussions, this while it is a plan, it's certainly more broader in terms of its concept and goals that we hope take place down this.
Yes, sir. About a year ago, we met with about 200 people in a cross-section of the community at the arena and brainstormed and visioned about the downtown area and things that might happen to bring the area back. After that time, there was a downtown redevelopment initiative group formed, cross-section of the community again, but a sort of a steering committee sanctioned by the Planning Commission to continue to work on the efforts. We did receive downtown assessment from the Gove company that we contracted with, and that's in this report. And the DRI committee has continued to work through the chapters that are recommended, and it is more of a vision statement. It does list some specific things that might help the downtown area, looking at how do you go about creating a sense of place, how do you provide traffic flow but not harm the neighborhoods, how do you help with the appearances of the area, how should signage be, how do you make it a special place, how do you encourage activity downtown. And we realize that it is and that these are not the people who are going to invest and build the businesses that are here. There are certain things that should be done to encourage redevelopment of the downtown area. So it's a broad brush.
Alderman Gibson.
I'm seeing a couple of things I don't guess. I must have misread in the first one because I totally missed the North Hills connection to Broadway.
There are some
on
grandiose
page 17,
plans.
and the statement above that in relocate industrial uses, the last sentence of that is not, I don't think, is this city council's desire.
What page again?
Page 17, relocate industrial uses. It is likely that market forces may cause the reuse of some much of these properties, but a plan of governmental action may be needed to assist some conversions. And then right below it, the connect North Hills to Broadway. And you got a situation over here, install an emergency signal at 8th and Main. One of the reasons that stoplights at 8th and Main is that if you're coming up 8th Street and you want to try to turn left, which is you can't see around the buildings, you don't have enough line of sight to see around the cars and the buildings that are parked on Main Street because cars are parked there.
Yeah.
That's over on page 16. So
I think the idea on that one was to recommend it be more of an emergency turn and try to encourage people to come around by 7th Street. But there are a lot of, this came from a lot of different people. There are a lot of different ideas. Some may be grandiose, like the continuation of Riverfront Drive. It would be nice to have better distributed traffic through the downtown, have a new bridge over the rail yards. May not happen.
Probably won't.
Probably won't, but there are
you
some vision
already have a
things
bridge over the rail
that have been
yards.
advanced. And that one did come through the Planning Commission as a recommendation out of the Planning Commission.
We have two bridges. Two over.
I didn't mean to open a can of worms. I just wanted to know if there was any changes. Maybe there, since the last one that we were really supposed to be voting on. That's why I asked this.
This was in here.
That was
This all. This is.
Okay.
There's no substantive changes.
I missed it.
Now, I'll be happy to hold it, and we can vote on these, or we can go forward. It's really up to the council.
I don't see any reason to hold it myself.
All right.
I
think the amendment does need to be made on that industrial use to say the governmental body's going to go tell everybody to move. I don't.
I mean, we don't have the things in place in state law, so I don't want everybody to understand that we can go condemn somebody's property so to make them move out so we can sell it to somebody else to create the entertainment district that they have on the book.
And even though this is just a plan, I don't think it's something that you want to give to somebody and they'll say, oh, okay, they're going to try to move our industry. And that's where I'm getting. Are you getting the same thing, Alderman Gibson?
I mean, I don't.
Well, you want to move to amend it?
You want to amend that sentence to drop the last half of the sentence?
Or just the whole thing?
No.
We assume market forces will take care of most change downtown.
You know, plan of governmental action. I mean, it to me it's fairly nebulous, but it sure are.
It's a wrong signal to be talking to the people who own property over here. One of them who is now spending $40,000 or $50,000 of grant money to update his building, and we're coming down here and say, well, you know, the city council passed a plan that says we're going to relocate the industrial uses and specifically names that area. And I just don't think it's something we want to have in a plan.
I make a motion we strike that.
The entire sentence?
The entire paragraph.
No, not the entire paragraph. I think you just take
The
out.
last sentence?
It is likely that. Start there and just take out the rest of that.
Okay.
Okay. It is likely to the end of it.
Excuse me. All right, motion is that we delete the last sentence under the relocate industrial uses paragraph. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
And
Still concerned about the 8th, I mean, it can't happen unless we do it. But when you put a stop sign at 8th Street and anybody pulls up there, they cannot see traffic coming north on Main Street
where are you talking about now?
on page 16 to do it with a stoplight. That stoplight,
What paragraph?
install emergency signal at 8th and Main.
8th and Main being what electric department is, right?
I hear a motion to amend that.
Then you got
What did you
Wait just a minute.
I make a motion to strike that section.
All right.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that the stoplight reference on page 16. I still haven't found what you're talking about.
Down, right there on the left-hand side, Mayor, install an emergency signal at 8th and Main. In other words, to have an emergency signal, they want to have an emergency signal
Okay.
that the fire department can turn on. But you've got a lot of other things that are over there, including, of course, our electric department vehicles
Right.
can go around. The other one can go around, but you can't see.
I'll take that motion to strike that entire paragraph.
I have a question.
Well,
Did
wait
the-
just a minute.
Okay.
Wait just a minute. There's a motion to strike that entire paragraph.
It's been
Motion
seconded.
made and seconded. All right, now we're in discussion. All
Okay,
right.
did the fire department request this signal there? I want to hear from them.
They've requested it be retained. I think this came out of a citizen body, just looking at downtown circulation, what could be done.
So
There's not a lot
because
of traffic east-west on 8th Street.
so because of the fire department's request, that's the reason that paragraph is in there.
No.
No, that's the reason the light's still there.
The light is there.
The fire department needs that.
Okay, and so
So the proposal was to convert it just to an emergency,
Now, read this
to
one.
allow the fire department to switch
Be
it
able to
when they
control
need
it.
to.
On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
yes.
And Witcher?
I might remind, the council that we can I'll either hold it or we
Please
can vote
do.
it.
There's one other section.
Okay, let's look at one more time.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do it. We'll do it. Everybody look over this. We just struck that section about the light. So, take a look at this and come back with your amendments next time, if you can, so we can address it on file. Next item.
Ordinance 0228, Alderman Dobbins.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare center in a commercial building for certain real property located at 4522 Lynch Drive in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place it on at second reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
On the motion to suspend?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare center in a commercial building for certain real property located at 4522 Lynch Drive in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place on the third reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare center in a commercial building for certain real property located at 4522 Lynch Drive in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
On the,
Quick
I'm
question.
sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, I've been out of town and I haven't got to look at all these. This is the old post office building. Is that what that is?
Just
No.
below it.
Just next to
Below
it.
that?
Next to it.
Okay.
This is Easy Mart. That's where the Easy Mart was.
Some type of commercial.
There was indoor car slot racing
Right.
last there. I think.
Okay.
Is that where the Easy Mart used to be? Then there's a video store.
There is a video store.
Video
there.
store there.
And
Video store.
a
No, it's
donut
across the
store.
street.
A donut store is there.
It's on the
Shipley's.
west side of Lynch
Why
Drive.
do you say
right?
it's where Shipley's was?
Isn't that an awfully high? Can I ask Mr. Boyles a question? Isn't that an awfully high traffic area to have a daycare center?
Well, this one is moving from a neighborhood that they're really wanting it moved out.
Excuse me?
The use is in a neighborhood, and they're trying to encourage it to be moved out of the neighborhood.
They're moving out of a
more
neighborhood
commercial.
into this.
This is at the edge of a community. I mean, Lynch Drive is not.
It's a block off of Broadway, isn't it?
about a block off Broadway.
There's a lot of cars that go by there.
Yeah, a bunch of cars, 33,000 go by the high school every day.
Well,
All right, Alderman Gibson.
Well, the one thing that we best get ready for is because of the welfare to work rules, people are going to have places for their kids to daycare. And we put one across the street from the high school at 2120 Main, and nobody complained about the cars or the traffic there. There's 25% or 20% of the traffic on Lynch Drive. There is down Main Street, about in front of the high school. And but we will see a lot more of child care facilities that will be before us because we have a very tough restriction on where they can go, and that's R5 and R6 property, which there is none in the city. So, in essence, every child care facility that goes in has to come up to us for rezoning.
I understand that, but I mean, there was not another suitable location though for this daycare center.
Well, yeah, moving it away from the neighborhood was one of the main objectives there because that use was just totally unfit there. So to put it into a more commercial area away from the inconveniences of people driving to their homes back and forth, this is a more suitable location right there. And Alderman Gibson is exactly right. We're trying to be accommodating, and I think this is a pretty solid place for them. And it passes planning commission.
On the motion?
But Mayor,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
going to ask one question before I vote on this. Where did Shipley go?
Ask any police
You
officer.
just want a donut. A donut, that's all you want.
You need some donuts, Alderman.
Let me make one more comment.
No.
The kids aren't going to play in the street, Alderman Height. They're going to be in the fenced-in yard.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Next item, ordinance 0229, Alderman Thomas.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance vacating a portion of East 10th Street, east of I Street, between Lot 25, Block 1, and Lot 1, Block 13, a Dixie addition to the city of North Little Rock for McRae School. First reading.
We suspend the rules and place it on second
Yeah,
reading.
and you want to be a sponsor.
Right.
And Alderman Dobbins is sponsored that.
All right, let's, without objection, add Alderman Dobbins as a co-sponsor, and Alderman Height moved, and it was seconded to suspend the rules. On the motion, suspend the rules.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance vacating a portion of East 10th Street, east of I Street, between Lot 25, Block 1, and Lot 1, Block 13, a Dixie addition to the city of North Little Rock for McRae School. Second reading.
I'd like to move again that the rules be suspended and placed on its third reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance vacating a portion of East 10th Street, east of I Street, between Lot 25, Block 1, and Lot 1, Block 13, of Dixie addition to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas, for McRae School. Third and final reading.
Mayor,
Alderman Witcher?
I'm so sorry. Again, I have not had an opportunity to look at this. I am assuming that the street does not exist, and/or there are any utilities in the street.
The street's never been built, and the property is owned by the church on either side of the street.
Okay. So the answer is there are no utilities within this
If
area.
there are, just reserve them. That's what I
Yeah,
told.
why don't, Ms. Hamilton, would you just propose a little clause that says if any utility easements or any utilities which require easements are reserved?
Certainly.
Stick it somewhere.
Okay.
Tell us where you want it stuck.
Yeah.
Looks like the best place for that would be Section 2, add a Section 2, rather substitute Section 2 and then make the following sections all, change numerically by one. Section 2 becomes Section 3, et cetera.
I don't think we have any problem, but I know the church wouldn't have any objection to that either, but I don't think there is any utilities there.
All right, Alderman Thomas, you move that amendment?
Yes, I'll
second.
And Alderman Heights, or Witcher seconds it on the motion to amend?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes. Move for adoption as amended.
Is there a second? On the motion to adopt as amended?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the-
And we might, just in the future, Ms. Hamilton, anytime we close an alley or, give away property or sell property, it might just have a standard clause that we automatically add that says, any utility easements, are reserved, or, you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So that
We can just-
just kind of make it a standard, because we're never going to want to give away any property and not retain those easements.
Right. We'll just put that into our computer then.
All right?
There's an emergency clause. Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Dobbins.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
All right. If you're standing up for this legislation, it was just adopted.
That's right.
Okay, well, I was just want to let you know that there are no utilities in that particular.
There's no utility.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item.
Next item is ordinance 0230, Alderman Vestal.
Alderman Vestal is not here. Did he make any request of any council member? Why don't you just go ahead and read it, and then we'll hold it.
You ain't read, huh?
Just read it once.
This is an ordinance making it unlawful to park or permit a vehicle to stand in areas zoned residential except in driveways. First reading.
All right, now.
Yeah, he asked me to withdraw it.
I second that motion. Okay.
I was thinking about suspend rules placed on second reading so I could vote against it.
Well, he called it. You may want to do that.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
The sponsor has
That's right.
Public comment. Any council member? Public comment section.
We'd like to make Alderman Gibson and I have an announcement on Idlewild Park, and because I've received phone calls, and I think some other people have, maybe the Parks Department. The playground equipment at Idlewild Park has been removed, and Alderman Gibson and I, out of our ward funds, have bought new equipment. The equipment is in, so we wanted to, have as least amount of time that there was nothing there as possible. So the new equipment, the old equipment's been removed, the new equipment is in, and the weather gets right, they're going to be right in there. The contractor should be in there at the end of this week or next week putting it in, just in case anybody out there has any questions about what's going on. That's going to be done. And also, we'd like to say, Mr. Rhodes, as soon as y'all want to start working on that tennis court with the money, that we'd be happy, and the people would be happy about doing that too. Thank you.
I just wondered any excess funds. Do you have any excess funds?
You have your money, we have ours. Whatever you want to do
We
is
have
up to
about
you.
a $7 million plan, and it's, we don't have the federal budget to work with.
That's exactly right.
Alderman Dobbins.
Yes. Most things I was going to say. No. One of the things that I wanted to comment on was that I know over the last two council meetings we've had some pretty good activity up here, but I think overall it's good to have healthy debate and to let people know where everyone's at, and I think everything worked out for the good, and I think that shows our government is at work, and we can come to some good solutions out of that. So
We agree with
I
that.
want to comment on that.
We agree with that. With that, Taylor, you're open to the microphone.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I got a question. Here, just a short while back, y'all had a liquor license before you for the Gentleman's Club out on 70 Highway. I was over there the day that was denied. And my question is, y'all spent quite a bit of time, I guess, viewing that, and y'all denied it, and it was turned down because of the feller that I can't think of his name, but I talked to him. He's the one, I guess, that goes between y'all and the ABC board. He gets his information from y'all. He was the one I talked to, and he said the biggest part of the time they took his information and they voted on what he said. And he told me that morning that it was going to be more than likely going to be turned down. Well, it was. And I said, well, if it is, what's going to happen? He said, well, if they appeal it, we will notify you. Well, the next thing I seen, it was in the paper that it was passed. And my question is, why we wasn't notified where we could comment on it. So I done quite a bit of calling. I talked to one attorney and some more people, and I finally got a number of the ABC board, and I talked to Mr. Bennett. He told me this morning that they sent a letter to you, to Mayor Hayes, for 2002 on the 8th of March for the hearing on the 20th. He said no one showed up. And
That's correct, Mr. Taylor. I put that letter in the council correspondence for the last council meeting for anybody to see it that had any desire to go over there.
Yeah.
So that letter was published and was before this council and this community, notifying anyone who had any desire to go over there and make any comments that was available. And
did y'all mention it here? I didn't know anything about it.
It was in council correspondence the last council meeting.
Well, I guess I just overlooked it then.
I'm sorry, but it was here.
That's okay. Thank you.
There's one. After that.
Yes, sir.
My name is James Ard, and I sure hope y'all don't vote for this last one about parking in the yards. I've had more people want me to come down here and say something about it. And in my case, there's a fire hydrant. I've got 4 vehicles at times, and I can't put all 4 vehicles on the street if I've got vehicles in the driveway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ard. Yes, sir.
So, my name is Steve Baxter. I live at 5501 Green Valley Drive. That backs up to Dublin. And the joke in North Little Rock used to be that every time the wind blew, you lost cable. Well, it seems like every time any little storm comes in, that our area of the block loses power. It's very frustrating when you look across the street and see that the street or the houses across the street have power. I could count on on my hand the number of times that they've lost power. It's this many. Whereas the inner block loses power all the time. It's very frustrating to look across the street and see them with power. Now, when we had the recent ice storm, we lost power for 8 days. That's a give me. I'll give that one because of the snow and the ice on the trees. But it seems like the circuit could be upgraded in some manner to where we didn't lose power more than any other part of the city, it seems like.
See Mr. Osborne right there. Mr. Osborne, raise your hand. Talk to that fella, and he'll get us some answers as to why that's happening and what we might be able to do to help you.
Thank you, sir.
Alderman Dobbins.
My question just may go to the city attorney. I need some information on what's our ruling on it's the relationship with our school district in donating playground equipment to them. One of those proposals is coming up. I want to make sure that we're in some alignment on that. If you can give me some information on that.
All right. Is this an issue that our office is already working on?
I think, Alderman
know
Dobbins,
anything about
that we have had discussions. I know Alderman Gibson has brought this up before with our school district, and I don't think there's a cooperative spirit there, and if we wanted to work with them in providing some playground equipment, their playgrounds are, as far as I know, virtually open all the time. Alderman Gibson, I know, like I said, did some stuff. Do you have any comment?
We did a cooperative project with Park Hill School using water. The very first year we had water tanks. And in fact, we put basketball goals at Pine and replaced the basketball goals at Pine and did some work up there on that basketball arena. We also did some work at Park Hill Elementary. Did some work up there. In fact, we've got a project now we're discussing with Park Hill Elementary because there is not a public park of any significant size west of JFK at Park Hill. And yet you've got a beautiful school campus there that they open up. They just need additional equipment.
I understand that, and I just want to make sure that we're in alignment. Something we have done before. Want to take a look at some of the activities.
Well, we've been very good partners with our public school system, and I don't know that Alderman Dobbins is as much a legal question as just a cooperative request, and our school district has long been receptive to those kind of sharing of space options.
Mayor, I was going to point out, we just recently had a project with Lakewood Elementary that Mr. Gibson and Mr. Yearling participated in. And then, of course, when Northeast Campus was developed, the city helped develop, I guess, the recreation side of that campus through a grant with was it HUD? Olin, I think you participated in that. And then, of course, we worked with them on the track at Old Main. So
sounds good.
The precedent's there.
I'm sorry, Olin.
I just had one other thing. I think I do need to clear up something here for us, because Mr. Taylor was mentioning about the Gentlemen's Club. I think, and you sent all of us, we all knew that they had made the application and we opposed it, but one of the things I think it may have slipped through is that they told us over there they would notify us if they denied if they came back and asked for a hearing on it. But they didn't actually notify many of us out there. That's the point. I think they had said to us that if they appeal their decision, then they will let us know. And I think that's one of the places we had a little breakdown there.
With that, and I'm not sure if she was here last time, I'm going to let our new reporter for the Times introduce herself to us. And we all know Jake. Jake's been with us for a while, and if you're good, Jake, go ahead and introduce yourself, or KJ rather.
KJ Mosley with the Times, and I found last week.
Yep. So.
People that love the city-related forums.
So as you see, KJ will be helping tell our story, and we want to welcome her to our city council, and as we continue to appreciate Mr. Sandelin with the Democratic Gazette. So thanks to both of our reporters. We appreciate y'all being here. With that, I have a motion.
I have one other comment.
Got it.
Mr. Taylor got up here and was worried about the Gentlemen's Club and the sometimes you lose a battle and win the war, so just remember that.
On the motion, made by Alderman Gibson and seconded by Alderman Witcher. On the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Dobbins?